Welcome back to Punches and Bunches, the official podcast of the South Texas Amateur Boxing Association. My guest today is Rhyan Neco, who's a ring announcer at the professional level, at the amateur level, an interviewer, a podcaster, basically just an all-around boxing media person. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Matthew, thank you for having me. Yeah, let's dig in. What's going on? What's up?
Well, let's dig in. Let's start with the basic question. You're a boxing announcer, like I mentioned, at all levels. So how did you get started into boxing? How did you get interested in boxing?
Really, it was more so just a way to stick around a sport that I love so much because of the physical, like prowess that it gives to people once you get involved, right? So I was in Detroit, went to one of the top gyms, at first on the professional scene, but now at Superbad Academy, the amateurs are really, really outstanding and doing their thing now too. Matter of fact, they're like 7-1 in Detroit, or in the Detroit Golden Gloves team, which is has a lot of super bad kids on there. They're like 7-1 in the national tournament right now. So basically, I went into this boxing gym thinking that I was just gonna get in shape, because I wasn't like on a team sport or anything. And the reason that I say that is because I grew up playing team sports. I grew up playing AAU basketball. And so I was in a city, Detroit, that I'm not from. I go into this gym just thinking I'm going to get a good one-on-one workout. And, that's it. I didn't expect to fall in love with boxing so much. I didn't expect to get at the time like so shredded. I had no idea. So I guess people would say I got bit by the bug and I fell in love with the sport. Just trying to like be good at the sport, not knowing that I was training with people who are at the pinnacle of the sport and just like people who consider boxing their lifestyle. So really it was just being around at the athletes that got me to love the sport. And so I wanted to watch more, go to more professional boxing matches, go to amateur shows, just all around, just be in the environment. But when you're in the environment, if you want to go to a big show in Vegas, you're gonna pay what at least minimum $2,000 to get there. So I was just initially trying to find a way to involve myself in the sport, um, from an affordable lens because it was starting to become unaffordable. And I was trying to figure out, well, what could I do? I really didn't want to box, and I just watched it. I bought a lot of fights. I started buying fights on TV, pay-per-view, that kind of thing. And I saw Jimmy Lennon Jr. on TV, and then I saw like the not the tail of the tape for the boxers, but more like the the pictures of the staff and the broadcast team, like those types of that type of spread or that type of image or graphic was on the screen. And I was like, there are no women on this show. So I was like, man, maybe I could do what Jimmy Lennon Jr. does because I have done some professional stage plays and professional theater before. And so I was like, I should try to do that. And then that was in 2021. And so since then, I just have been announcing. I did my first like show by myself in July of 21, or no, August of 21. In it was a Detroit Golden Glove fundraiser, and I loved it. And so since then, I've just been, asking if people need a ring announcer, asking who needs an announcer, and just put myself out there. And it's been really, really, it's been a cool journey to just watch it unfold and just to see the love that I have for the sport continue to grow.
Summer 2021 is not that long ago. Like, I mean, that's less than 4 years ago. And, while I'm researching for this article, I'm seeing like articles in the news about you. I'm seeing you with Mike Tyson, with some of the Olympians. And of course, if you go to the USA Boxing National Tournaments, you're the announcer there. So, there's a lot of people that probably start off as a boxing announcer, don't go anywhere. And it's like, that was my phase as a boxing announcer, but here I moved on to this. What does it take to start something, but actually kind of start moving up to that next level where you're kind of working your way up as one of the top boxing announcers?
what does it take? It takes consistency, I think. And I think it also takes just like a real genuine love for it. You know, I don't have like truth be told, I mean, I have an aspiration to, of course, be a really good announcer.
Mhm.
And also, you know, it is cool to be like so I think like this. When I first started, right? That was in 2021. I was new to boxing totally. I didn't grow up in boxing. I didn't have family in boxing. So seeing Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's at the top of the game, you know, you're just like, oh, I want to be that because that's what you see. Um, but now it's like now that I'm doing amateur boxing and professional boxing and I'm getting to see future Olympians, it's more so this it's like this feeling where I just want to grow up with these kids, or I want to grow up in my career. You know, I'm an adult for sure, but I want to grow up in my career with these kids and see their journeys and see this like continued elevation of the sport and just continued excellence and just thriving of the sport. So your question, what does it take to like get to the top? I guess it's more so for me. I'm just like, what is it going to take to have longevity? And what is it going to take to continue to involve myself in a way that makes people happy to hear their name being announced? You know, and but I think the answer to that is going to be to continue to do interviews, you know, with you so that more people can know who I am, continue to go to multiple shows even if I'm not announcing, and just to continue to learn who's involving themselves in this game just so that you can be a vessel in general as, you know, myself as a ring announcer or beyond.
What's that like when you're in the ring and you're announcing the fighters and you could see the crowd, staring up to the ring and you're the one that has to get the crowd hyped up and get the fighters ready to go? What's that like pre-main event feeling like?
It's like, okay, so first and foremost, I definitely try to make sure I'm rehearsed enough to where I've prepped and I know their names, right? Especially at a professional show. At a amateur show, there's never really a main event, right? Because everybody's like important.
Mhm.
But for the main event at these pro shows and the pro MMA shows, there's for me a level of practice that has already been done to kick out the nerves of not being prepared. So once it's time, like once it's showtime, it's like, let's go. Like, let's like you, it's basically like, all right, they about to get ready to bang it out. And so you need to make sure that everybody knows it's time, like it's about to go down. So it's like a feeling of, okay, you ready for this? You prep for this. And now it's time to make sure these people feel honored enough because we don't know what's about to happen. And so you better get it right so that they can get it in. Like that's kind of the feeling for me.
And is there a difference? I mean, I guess is one harder? I mean, when you're doing a pro show, it's probably like 6 to 8 bouts. You're actually in the ring, you're calling it out. And then like with an amateur show, there's like 100 bouts and some of them are more excited than others. So is there a difference? Is one harder than the other between pros and amateurs?
There's definitely a difference. I will say that the pro shows is more, it takes longer to prep for that show because, you know, there's a weigh-in that you have to do the day before and there's maybe titles involved or there are um you know, just more cameras involved. So you want to be on point. So there's more prep time that goes into the performance for the professional shows. In the amateur shows, though, it's like there are more fights on the card and they're doing the bout sheet like sometime minutes before you get ready to go. So there's like, okay, let me prep, let me do an overall intro for the show, you know, and then from there, I'm gonna run over to the corner and say, hey, do I pronounce your name like this? You know, versus in the pros, there's time to know their names before you get there. So if it's not harder. One's not harder than the other. It's just different. Like on the amateur show, you got to prepare right then and there because you don't know their name until the last second. Pro show, there's more time to prep, but more to prep for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mentioned earlier some of the stuff you've done, you know, like interviewing Olympians, like, you know, calling national tournaments, calling big pro shows. In your 4-year career, what are some of like the highlights that you point to when you're talking your career with others?
Definitely a highlight. Like first thing that comes to mind is announcing the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Um, Now there are no Hall of Famers fighting in that show, but to know that these people are there watching, watching like these people have finished. They're at the end. They're like cemented in history. They're watching me as a beginner do my thing. That's 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 a lot of pressure and also a huge honor because after you get done, I've worked with Hall of Fame ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's complimenting me on my work. Um, and then you get to work with Hall of Fame um refs, Hall of Fame judges, like these people who see me and are able to say, lady, you did a good job, or lady, like, when are you going to work again? Or I'm looking forward to working with you again. That is a huge honor because they've seen so much from, shitty work to the best of the work, And so to be able to be welcomed by them and like even boosted or just uplifted by them is a big, big, big deal to me. And it keeps me wanting to do my thing. And it keeps me, it's like external validation that matters, right? To that. So yeah, that's it. That's that.
You know, that seems like such a huge deal, you know, calling the Hall of Fame inductees, working that weekend. And I really missed that. I feel bad I missed that in my research. But how does that even happen? Like, what is that like when the Hall of Fame calls you and says, "Hey, can you announce Hall of Fame weekend?" I mean, there's so many spam calls that go around that I'd get a call from a number in upstate New York and not even know to like answer it. Like, so how does that come about where you're announcing for the Hall of Fame?
So really it's my connection to Detroit boxing.
Hmm.
And there's also a bit of New York too, because I was working with Salida Promotions that was on Showbox. So Salida Promotions is Dimitri Salida's company. And Dimitri Salida, I mean, granted, he is a world-renowned uh, promoter, but also a killer in boxing too. So in his career, he came up in New York. And so that's just even full circle, not on my side, but even on his side, like to be a boxer who came up in New York and then, just trying to build big time boxing in Detroit and as well as all over the world, just continue on his journey to be involved in boxing. Um, that is how it's more so Detroit call like, hey lady, like you do this, you're pretty good. I've worked his shows in Detroit too, and so
Hmm.
he was saying, look, I got this opportunity to be on Showbox in New York, can you do it? And so that's basically how that went. Being involved in boxing in Detroit got me to New York.
You know, when you start, it's such a niche like industry that like there's probably not that many other boxing announcers you can look up to or contact because there's like four of them, five of them. It's such a small industry. You know, some announcers have a catchphrase, some don't. I wonder if in your 4 years, if you've like experimented, if you've had a catchphrase, you're working on one. What's the status of that?
Definitely working on the one, right? I'm trying, but nothing feels good yet. And nothing feels good for every show
Mhm.
yet, right? Now, one thing about like the buffers, it's time, let's get ready to rumble. Those are catchphrases. But then and then even uh David Diamante, my guy David, like he's got, from the four corners of the world, I said. So it's really cool to me when you see announcers have those catchphrases. But there's also no pressure for me because when you see Jimmy Lennon, I mean, granted, he says it's showtime or it's prime time now, but there's no catchphrase there, and he's still considered one of the best, and he is. He's smooth. He's got his own, thing. So it's like, and not to mention, he's he's legacy, right? Like his dad was Jimmy Lennon Sr., and he
Mm.
was in Rocky and like has established that legacy there. So I guess what I'm saying is there, I'm working on it. I want to have a catchphrase because it would be cool. Um, but also there's this thing that I keep reminding myself of or having to tell myself where it's like, it really is not about me, right? The biggest thing that I want is to make sure that somebody feels really amped up before they go to war. And so while I'm looking for the catchphrase, because of that thought that I keep reminding myself of, I don't put that pressure to like force something in. But I want to. I want to get one that's just like, yeah, that's it. But it has not come to me yet.
It's one of those things. When it comes, you'll know that's the one.
I think so. And I mean, granted though, you might think it's the one, and then people will be like, yeah, whatever. Let's fight. Like, what else? So we'll see if I get there. But I am definitely wanting to have a catchphrase.
Well, I'll close with this one. To practice and and workshop a catchphrase, you got to have shows that you're working to be able to practice. So, the rest of 2025, well, where can we see Ryan Neco announcing at ringside the rest of the year?
Okay. Yeah, so this is May. This
This
is
is
May.
May. Yes.
So beginning of June, I'll be in Boulder, Colorado, doing actually this is a really cool amateur show. It's called Unite to Fight. The Corner Boxing does this show, and it's basically these like neighborhood heroes, right? So like lawyers, doctors, any kind of professional. They're raising money for a cause that's near and dear to their heart, and they come in the ring and fight like as a fundraiser. So it's a boxing fundraiser. An example would be a nutritionist who is raising money to put awareness into inner cities for like just to get like urban farming together, things like that, like or an attorney who's raising money for um small people to fight against large corporations. So those types of things that's going on in Boulder, Colorado, at Boulder Theater, June 7th. And then we've got Junior Golden Gloves Junior Golden Gloves. That's June. So that's in Las Vegas, USA Boxing. I've got a pro show in July with K&W Promotions. That's Deb King, Don King's daughter. I think we'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina. And that'll probably be streaming on Triller TV. Um, I, I know Triller for sure. Then we got, let's see, that's June, that's July, August, September, October. Oh, there's a show, the Coach Nikki, she's down in Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, I need to have a calendar out. So July is pro boxing in North Carolina, Triller TV. But I have to like update you some kind of way so that
Yeah, I
I
didn't
can
mean to
get
put you on the spot with the
Oklahoma.
calendar.
There's Oklahoma um for a tournament there. And then World of Havoc has a tournament in the beginning of August in at the Caribe Royale in for like July 28th through August 2nd. And that's where I'm at so far.
So it sounds like there's going to be plenty of opportunities, both amateur and pro, to hear you
Yeah.
ringside in the coming weeks and the coming months. And so we'll close with that one. Thank you to our guest, Ryan Neco, an announcer at the pro level, an announcer at the amateur level, the in-house voice of USA Boxing National Tournaments if you're in the venue, and an all-around boxing media professional. Ryan, thank you so much for joining the program today.
Thank you. Punches and bunches. I look forward to being back. And thank you so much, Matthew.